All right, everybody, Dave here. Dave's Does It One. And just out here in the garage, I picked up the suspension yesterday. I took a few pictures of it then, but I came out here to grab some measurements. These plates were bolted into the car originally are 4 inches wide, and from the front corner to the longer back corner are 12 inches long. So what I'm going to do is get a bit of 1/4 inch plate. I moved the frame back out of the way so I could measure that. But I'm going to get some 1/4 by 4 inch flat plate, and I'm going to cut them to length. I might do the angles and everything. Drill holes out to bolt it together, but then I'm going to weld them to the bottom side of the A-frame. Like the A-frame fits perfectly centered in them pads. So yeah, and that's going to cost me like $10 in steel, so I can swing that right now. That'll get me the front in place solidly, and then probably next week I'm going to pick up a 1/8 by 4 inch stick, the full 20 feet, and that's going to be enough material for boxing in the frame rails. I want to box for sure above where I weld the plate on, just for a little more strength in that area, because I want to get this front all situated, and then I'm either going to bolt in or weld in the stock A rear cross member for now, which I think I have some coil springs for a drag race setup somewhere in my little garage. I might just weld the brackets onto the back of this axle and then up to that cross member. And then I'm still going to use the truck arms. I still need to cut that cross member out of the Frank's frame and transfer it over here. The mounts are going to be somewhere back in this area. And that's just kind of a guesstimate, lining up where the rear axle should be centered under the rear cross member. But yeah, that's kind of the plan. I need to get this thing, like I said, I need to get that front situated, because I tried retacking this brace and it broke while I was moving stuff around. So I just want to get the front end in, squared up, and then start attacking the back and make this thing a roller as soon as can. And I do need to find now some 5x4 3/4 wheels, but any 14, 15 inch stockers will work. And I also know now what I need for brake master cylinder. I can just get a dual drum master and for now and run that. So yeah, anyhow, that's it for now, and get out in the shop and get things done. And remember, Vintage Steel Showdown, May 17th, Stone Lake, Wisconsin. All right, everybody, Dave here with Dave Does It One, and a little arts and crafts time today. I picked up some 1/8 by 4 inch material for starting some boxing plates. I'm gonna start boxing at the front section here in preparation for this 3/16 by 4 inch plate. So this is going to go on top of here. I'll have to trim out a little bit. I'm going to angle the corners and stuff. But I got a 24 inch piece. These are 12 inches long from that point to that point. Not at the diagonal, but they are a total of 12 inches long on both sides. So I have 16 holes I'm going to have to drill. But yeah, so then the plan is to have this plate cut the size. I will have to arch out around the curve here because that does come up a little bit. And then this plate will weld to the bottom side of the frame. And that's why I picked up the material for the boxing plate, because I can cut that to size and get that welded in, at least on the front section first. So, and what happened was I pulled 20 bucks from the ATM because the metal supply that I found, they charge 3% for any kind of card, so I grabbed some cash. I told them I needed the 3/16 by 4, 24 inches long, and however much 1/8 by 4 I can get to come out to 20 bucks. And they figured out I got 6 feet 6 inches. And the steel supply house that I used, if you just let them plasma cut it or just do quick cuts, they don't charge for the cuts. So I got a little bit more. If you want clean cuts at the exact length, then they charge like $4 a cut. But no, all in all, good service. It's been a couple years since I've gotten metal anywhere, since my actual local metal supply moved towns, about 40 miles away instead of 14. So, yeah. Anyhow, if you're looking for metal in western Wisconsin, check out Steel Town. Great service. I highly recommend them. Anyways, I'm going to start marking this stuff up, and I'll get back to you guys later. All right, Dave here again. As you can see by that last little clip, I made a little progress. That's a lot of holes when you're used to doing nothing but sitting behind a computer all day. 16 holes in 3/16 plate. They all line up, so you could almost think I was a fabricator. I did have to notch out a little bit on the sides of the plates for the curvature of the front cross member, but yeah, that's about all I can muster for today. Tomorrow I'm probably going to cut up some of this 1/8 plate and get rid of this temporary cross member that the weld's already broke on, and probably just plate back just somewhere in this area. Just to kind of try and get it cleaned up a little bit and stiffened up so I can set the frame on top of that and get it all squared up and centered up, and tack weld those plates to the bottom of the frame, and then we'll get the front bolted in, and then I can move on to the rear, which requires cutting the center cross member out. That's why I had to start with the front, because I need to keep some kind of support in there. So I'll get the front on. That'll probably be hopefully this weekend. And then I'll put the rear cross member in place to help hold back there. And that'll help me line up my center line for the rear axle. The frame's just sitting on here now. But, and once I get the rear axle in place, right about here behind the end of the frame, I can cut the center cross member out and cut this one out of the truck and get that mocked up into place. And who knows, I'm not fast, but I might try and get a roller this weekend. I won't have springs unless I might have some lightweight ones up in the garage. Possibly. I'll have to take a look up there, but yeah, that's it for now. Get out and shop and do something.